kind of just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's replied, giving me really great feedback, has been following me, has been, listening to these throughout the entire thing, who have shared my posts. Thank you so much. Honestly, it means a lot. So I'm going to be having a phone call with my friend Sage Jane Sagney. She's currently a rising sophomore going to UC Davis studying veterinary medicine. She's one of my closest friends that I have currently. I've known her since 5th grade. We became really close friends in 6th grade. As far as she's probably been one of the closest friends that has taken a similar path as me, as far as growing up in an urban area with a huge white population and also attending a predominantly white institution out of state from where we live. So that's what I'll be talking to Sage about today. So let's go ahead and bring her up. So I guess going along the childhood part, growing up, how did you see yourself in your culture? Because we're both Diné, we're both Navajo. But for me, I grew up off the reservation, so an urban native. I took trips then and there sometimes just to see my relatives. I've never actually stayed there long periods of times, and it's a huge difference between my childhood and my parents' childhood, and coming to terms with embracing my culture was kind of weird here as a kid, because when we were younger there wasn't a ton of Native kids around where we lived. So it was, you want to go ahead and talk about your experience?
So let's see. I was adopted at the age of 3, almost 4. So my initially growing up, a lot of the foster families I was with, they were predominantly white, and when I first got adopted here, we never really went to the reservation unless I went to go see my grandfather. But even then, my mom, she didn't really practice a lot of the traditional ceremony, dress, ceremony. So I remember whenever I was in maybe the 3rd grade, I was in Navajo bilingual, and I resented it because it made me uncomfortable. And I don't know why it made me uncomfortable. I think growing up, a lot of the kids that in my classroom they weren't brown, I guess. And I always focused on making sure that they were comfortable because I always wanted friends. I wanted to fit in. So I basically did anything I could to avoid, that side of me, the Native side of me. So after 3rd grade, I told my mom, I was like, I don't want to be in bilingual no more. And my excuse was the teacher was mean. And since then, I think that's when I slowly kind of pushed that side of me away. I guess growing up, as an urban native, you kind of feel obligated to satisfy everybody around you, because if you don't, then you're kind of left as an outcast. And it kind of led to a lot of obscene thoughts about yourself and about who you are as a person, even your family. And sometimes I ended up being embarrassed of oh my god, my friend's coming over, what are they gonna think, because my family does this, and so it definitely led to a lot of self-loathing, resentment, I guess, in a way. And I never really realized what that feeling was until I got older, especially when I moved away for college. Because when I got to college, it was a whole other experience. People were like, oh my god, you're Native American. People embraced it. They were open to learning more about it. But then at the same time, I felt kind of ashamed because I couldn't really educate them on that part of myself because I didn't even know. And so, I don't know if I went off topic or not.
No, that's perfect. That's all of that's valid. And I do get there was a ton of kids in our school that hated going to bilingual,
And
Mm-hmm.
I used to be that way a lot of the times. Like, honestly, like, I felt guilty a lot just for not knowing my language and not wanting to learn it. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I did feel guilty as well, trying to satisfy, like what you were talking about earlier, trying to satisfy other people around me, especially white students.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and honestly, our identity was conditional to what the school wanted also.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I went as far as, like, I don't know, you know, you see on TV, you didn't really see a lot of, like, you didn't really see any Native representation, right? And I was like, man, we're just a small group of people that live in this small area. I really, like, wanted so badly to be white. Like, you have no idea. Like, there's one reason, like, when I tanned, I did everything I could to avoid getting darker because I didn't want to be dark. I wanted to be light-skinned. I wanted to be looking like those blonde girls you see in your classroom. I wanted, you know, just anything I could to not be who I really was. And I think growing up, that's probably what made my childhood less enjoyable, I guess, in a way. I don't, like, imagine being 10 years old and kind of pretty much hating everything about yourself, but you had no control over it. You couldn't really change anything, and you knew that, but you did everything you could to kind of, like, I guess, shape yourself into a person that just conformed to what everyone else wanted you to be, not realizing that you're really doing more damage in the long run. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, when I think about my childhood, I think about how much I wanted to cut my hair so bad because it was so long. My mom wouldn't let me cut it. And then also like the skin part too. I hated playing softball just because I loved softball. But I hated being out in the sun because I hated having my skin dark, and then I would be embarrassed going out in public with like my darkened skin, and every white girl's just surrounding me all the time, and then white girls simultaneously saying, "Oh, I'm almost as dark as you," or just
and you're like, no.
Yeah. And then since like we both have like family that, you know, actually like live on the reservation, and I have like both of my parents are both like fluent in Navajo, and like from then up they're all fluent. My mom grew up on the reservation. When I go back to go visit, I feel so embarrassed all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of my aunts, and a few of my aunts, my cousins, you know, they're all older than me. So whenever we have gatherings for like Christmas or something, I feel so out of place because, you know, like, you know, I don't even dress like them. I don't know how to bead. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to weave. I don't know how to like make some of the traditional dishes. I can't even do fried bread, which is kind of sad and embarrassing. For me, at least, like when I look at it, I'm like, you know, I should at least know how to do that. So like whenever we go to gatherings, I feel kind of out of place because I'm just sitting there and I feel kind of useless. And then I feel like they're kind of, in a way, maybe like judging me, because even when I was younger they would tease me for certain things, for not knowing how to do some stuff.
Oh no, definitely. I have like cousins that used to say like, oh, like why do you talk white, or like why are you acting white?
Yeah. Or like, why are you trying so hard to be this or that? And it's like, I'm not. It's just, I guess you were probably like my only really close like other, I guess, Native friend, like other brown friend, like, and in a way I always aspired to be like you because I felt like you had a stronger connection to the culture and everything. And even though you say you're kind of like, I felt like you were, I don't know how to say this, like, you had this way of putting yourself out there and being proud of who you were in a way that I couldn't do it. So, I don't know, with family, it's kind of awkward because, like, they're your relatives, you know, they should your family is kind of, they're a group of people that should accept you for who you are and stuff, but I kind of never felt that way when I was growing up. But even when I was in public, I still felt out of place. It was like, that I remember we were talking about this earlier, like, I'm too brown to be with, the white people, but I'm too white to be with the brown people. It's like, I'm never enough. And, like, if I try to fit in, I'm trying too hard. If I just try to be myself and who I am, I'm not trying enough, to embrace, like, who I really am. And it's just, like, I don't know what to do. Sometimes I feel stuck, and I'm just, like, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if, like, how college has been for you, especially with, like, navigating your identity, but for me, college has been so helpful for me, like, figuring out who I am and, like, the places I want to go, and also just reconnecting with, like, that Indigenous identity and actually, like, embracing it. Because I know, like, you felt like I, like, knew a lot. I honestly don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about my culture.
Yeah.
As much as I would like to. But I felt my first year, especially having Native friends from other tribes, and talking with them just about, like, an Indigenous experience, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to realize how much we have to reconnect with. And simultaneously, like, you're expected by white people to know everything about your own culture when you can't even understand all of it.
Yeah. For me, so I did try to reach out to the Native American office, like, home, the Native American Student Center, and I got in contact with the advisor there and everything, but I kind of felt, I guess this is terrible to say, but, like, I felt really awkward, because when they looked at me in a way like, what are you kind of doing here? I feel like out there, even though the school says, like, kind of advertise, like, oh, we respect and we do all this, blah, 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 Native American students, it's really kind of like a false advertisement, like, just to get you in there. Sometimes I look around and I kind of,
you just feel like a number for them.
Yes, I just feel like just another number for them, because there's so little that they do for their students out there. There's very, very little representation. You don't hear much about the Native American students. And I was talking to the advisor, and she was like, yeah, there's probably at most 300 out of 30,000 students. 300. And I think whenever I heard that number, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like whenever I took my Native American Studies class and I got in contact with the TA, the professor, and everything, I kind of felt obligated to, like, all right, I need to step up and, like, if I can, I guess if I can start learning about my culture and everything this late in my age, I guess, as old as I am, I feel like it could definitely encourage others who I think are afraid to embrace it as well, to, like, go forth and, I guess, maybe boost our representation there at the school, because I don't really see any Native American students there, like, ever.
Yeah. But then also, I do realize that also being an urban Native, that we've had privileges for us. That
I feel like people definitely take you more seriously when you're an urban Native. That typical the stereotypical accent, res slang that you get whenever you live out there. You're fluent in your native tongue. So, as an urban Native, your first language is most likely English. So, when you talk to other people, they think you're more articulate, smarter, more educated, probably come from a well-off family. Unlike, oh, you come from the res, they automatically probably go to this thought of, beat up house.
Yeah, I get you. Like beat up house, just like a poor like lifestyle that you don't like.
And then like, and then you're probably stuck on the res too because your family is probably like drunken, aggressive. Those stereotypical things that I guess even we as urban natives kind of hold against others that live on the reservation. Other people hold.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I've like spoken to like natives who talk so bad about like the reservation and how they don't want to go back. And we also contribute to that. I think that's like you can't.
We do.
Yeah.
We definitely do. Because I feel like there's always it's always a competition. Oh, I'm more native than you because I can do this. I can speak fluent. I can write. I can read. I can cook. I can, all this stuff. I go to powwows. Oh, my grandfather, my uncle's the medicine man. It's always a competition even between us. And I think it really stems from, colonialism for sure because, those who were fortunate enough to make it in the, social pyramid, I guess, were kind of adopted that way of thinking, like, oh, you're below us, even though we are essentially the same person.
And like the like native identity sometimes is gatekept by so many people who just want to judge you at every chance they get to say, oh, you're doing this wrong. Oh, that's not how you learn it. Or this and this.
Yeah, it definitely. Like, I even get it from my own family, or like I watch it happen between my own relatives. Even my aunties will do it with each other, and sometimes it'll start a big old fight. Oh, that's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to do it this way. Oh, well, didn't mom do it this way when we were growing up? And she was like, oh, well, yeah, but that's not correct. Or, yeah, it is. Or, it's just...
I mean, yeah.
I feel like that was also one reason that I kind of, like, tried to refrain from, I guess, being native. Being as little native as possible because it always resulted in some form of conflict and someone being uncomfortable with how things were done because it didn't meet their own view on how everything should be performed or carried out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like a whole point of like Diné culture is like having family all around you, and like it's not limited to like a certain amount of knowledge. It's like always teaching, always being accepting of other people, and then on the Navajo Nation, just like Navajo culture in general, we have such anti-blackness and transphobia, homophobia, against like all of these things which are inherent, which became inherent because of colonialism.
I've had aunties and uncles openly, express judgment towards other natives, like, oh, I can't believe, you let your child do this. I can't believe that, what was I going to say? Oh, you're so much lighter, you should get out in the sun. Or, oh, there's an interracial marriage. How could you possibly do that? That kind of thing. And it's just, I feel like it's kind of do as I say, not as I do, because there's so much hypocrisy even within our own culture and our own, especially older relatives, because they're like, you need to accept what I am teaching you, yet they refuse to adapt and learn, from everything that goes on around them.
Okay, and I guess we'll go and wrap this up. So, like, I put in my last question, I was like, as being an urban native, it shouldn't be on us to represent our entire people, nor provide our input on matters we can't understand. So, like, when my parents talk about, like, reservation issues or talk about things going on the reservation, I tend to not shy away from it just because, like, it makes me uncomfortable. I shy away from it because it's something that I won't be able to understand, and it's hard learning that you can't understand those things, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, basically not putting your 2 cents in somewhere where it doesn't belong, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you want to understand where they're coming from, but there's really no guarantee that you'll ever see their point of view, you know? Like, when people ask me certain questions about, you know, our practices, or if they see something, or, you know, they experience something with someone, and they're like, you know, I know you're native, what does this mean? And I'm always like, you know what, I did not grow up in a traditional household. I do not fully understand my own teachings, so I cannot tell you that, because I would not want to misinform you and give you the wrong information. And I think some others, like natives, struggle with that because they wanna be the ones to know it all, you know. And then this whole issue about, like, urban versus res, like, it's kind of frustrating to watch, because you're like, you don't live on the reservation. How could you possibly understand, like, how these people are struggling? Yeah, you have your own struggles, but you're in no place to invalidate what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And it goes both ways.
And then last thing I want to say, it's like, it's okay that we're still learning. I mean, it's fine that we're still learning. I mean, it's a struggle every day just to trying to define your existence to other people who won't recognize it, but it's okay that we're still learning about who we are, because at the end of the day, it's not our fault that we're here.
Yeah. At least we're trying, and, like, that was one thing with me growing up. I was like, oh, it's too late. You know, it's too late. Why should I even bother? But, I guess, you know, as toxic as social media can be, I've found a lot of native influencers who openly expressed that, you know, I didn't start embracing my culture until, like, I was 30, or I didn't start doing this until this time in my life, and it's okay, you know. And I think expressing that and saying it's okay to, like, go back into it whenever you are ready is definitely encouraging, I guess. Because I always felt like, oh, I'm too old. Why should I just bother? But then, like, how important it is to keep our culture alive. Like, how, like, I always, you know, people always reminded me, like, you have to learn this. We don't want to lose tradition. We don't want to lose our language. And I was like, yeah, whatever. There's a whole bunch of natives. We'll be fine. But then, like, leaving home, I was like, you know what? There's so little. We're, like, so underrepresented. And the world is so much bigger than this small community that I came from. Like, I always thought Farmington was but I moved to California, and I was like, damn, I'm to step up. I need to do something. Like, even if that's just for my own personal growth, you know?
And a lot of it is very personal. I mean, it should be. It's our identity. Like, most of these things we do, I think I always try to stress this to people when I talk. Like, I'm not doing this for white people. I'm doing this for, like, myself. Because that's the reason, like, why I like, wanted to start doing this stuff about, like, Indigenous issues and about explaining Indigenous identity, because it was healing for me to finally be able to have, like, the courage to speak about these issues that we've kept secret for so long throughout living here. And so yeah,
it's definitely therapeutic. Yeah, it's a learning process for sure, and I'm definitely going to make mistakes. There's no doubt in that. but I'm more than willing to take responsibility for those, for any error that I come across or that I perform, and address it and fix it, you know?
Yep. I think that's also
so
a thing we need to learn, just being accountable. You know, it's okay to be wrong sometimes. We just need to admit it, apologize, find common ground, work towards finding a solution.
Exactly. And I think the more we can reach that point of just being open and not being so, what's the word? Like, so defensive about our own feelings, and just being willing to just sit be with it there and listen. Time to, you know, see, like, yeah, I guess, you know, being kind of, I don't know where I was going with that. I had a thought and then it left my head.
Okay, well, I guess that's it, Sage. That's all I have. Do you want to say bye?
Bye. Thank you for this opportunity. You are amazing, Kayla. What you doing?
Thank you guys so much for all of your messages, all of the DMs I've gotten, all of the people who started following me. The support has been like really overwhelming, honestly, and unexpected. If you have stories that relate to this, I really want to hear them. So if you guys want to DM me, I will respond. And if I haven't DM'd you a thank you for sharing my post yet, well, this is your thank you. Shout out to you. Thank you for always dignifying me, dignifying other people around you, uplifting voices. It means a lot. And that's it. I see you guys later. Bye.